Welcome to the theater. Or should I say theater? So imagine this. What if you could be two things at once, both a leader and a follower, both a voice of support and a force for change? Well, that's exactly the position Kamala Harris found herself in, a political Schrodinger's box, if you will. As vice president, she was expected to champion Biden's policy, uphold the administration's agenda, and somehow, at the same time, prove she could lead as a president. But here's the catch. To show she was ready to step up, unfortunately, Harris needed to step out. She needed to differentiate herself, even if it meant criticizing or rethinking aspects of the administration's approach. That proved incredibly difficult. So, what actually happened? Well, let's break it down. One of Harris's biggest responsibilities was tackling the root causes of migration in Central America. Picture her at the negotiation table with leaders from Guatemala, El Salvador, and Mexico, working on making these nations safer and more stable to curb migration to the US. She was tasked with stopping the river at its source, but she wasn't handed full control over the dam, the actual immigration policies at the US border. Instead, her role was about influencing conditions in other countries without the power to reshape the policy at home. And as challenging as that was, it also kept her tied to the administration's existing agenda without the room to propose a bold alternative vision. Back in Washington, she had another crucial role, casting tie breaking votes in the Senate, a record breaking 33 times. Imagine the pressure, stepping in as the deciding voice on razor thin issues in a deadlocked chamber. Each vote carried weight, but none of them gave her the chance to set her own agenda. She was filling gaps rather than charting her own path. And for many voters, unfortunately or fortunately, this blurred her individual identity with that of the administration. And that's where the tension really mounted. Voters wanted to see Harris as more than a background player. They wanted her to be an independent leader, a fresh voice with a distinct perspective. But her position kept her so tightly bound to Biden's policies that she risked becoming invisible as her own leader. Imagine expecting a chef to prepare a signature dish, only to find they're using someone else's recipe. I had an aunt one time who made some spaghetti, and we found it was so delicious, but we found out later that she'd actually used ragu for the sauce. So it was kind of disappointing at the same time. It's kind of like that. People hoped for something fresh, but they kept getting more of the same, and they didn't like that. So the question now becomes, what could she have done differently? Well, the public's perception of her, her Schrodinger's box, was bound to collapse one way or the other by Election Day. The public would either see her as a distinct leader or as an extension of Biden's administration. To redefine herself, Harris needed to address the administration's challenges directly. Imagine her in front of the press, acknowledging the difficult issues at the border, saying, yes, there have been mistakes, and here's what I would do to fix them. Then she could pivot to highlight their successes like student loan forgiveness as proof of forward momentum. By confronting both the challenges and achievements, she could have offered voters a clear picture of her leadership beyond the administration. This move might have tipped the scales in her favor, giving the public something to rally behind. But by leaving those key issues unaddressed, she ultimately left a blank canvas for voters to fill in, and they filled it in with what they knew, more of the Biden administration. On Election Day, when voters finally observed her, she was seen as Biden's second act, not a reboot. And that ultimately was her downfall. Without stepping out to define herself, she left it up to others, and they chose more of the same. But let's be honest, this isn't just about politics. There's a powerful lesson here for anyone in a supporting role. Think about it. You work hard, you support the team, you fulfill every task, and you hope that one day you'll be seen as a leader. But if you don't take the initiative to set yourself apart, you risk blending into the background rather than standing out as the future. So here's the bottom line, right? Sometimes waiting for the perfect moment to define yourself means you miss your moment altogether. In politics, business, or in life, if you want to stand out, sometimes you have to break out, even if it feels risky. If you're in a supporting role and waiting for the perfect opportunity to define yourself, remember that sometimes you have to create that chance. In politics, business, or life, if you want to be seen, you got to be bold. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe for more insights on leadership, perception, influence, and relationships. See you later. Peace.